Yes. So I'm seeing something, you're seeing something else, and I'm like, you're difficult. And the person will also say, you too, you're difficult.
Thank you, you know? So that's where all of that drama comes from. Even what you know and what you've told yourself 1,001 times, you would forget.
Just fly out the window.
And you would react and you probably say things that you shouldn't say, but...
Hey guys, welcome to another enlightening episode of the Wivesroundtable show. We're all human beings and we relate with different kinds of people on a daily basis. Some of these people are okay, some of these people are fantastic, but some of them are really difficult. And honestly, try as you may, you can't avoid every difficult person because somehow some of them you really need in your journey of life. And so how do you do this? How do you manage the difficult people in your space? These and so many other things we're going to be talking about today on the show. The person I have with me is my friend, my sister. She has the patience of 1,000 people rolled into one. And so I decided to bring her on the show today to talk to us about this really important topic. Because like I said earlier on, we can't avoid all difficult people. Once we return, we will be right in the zone to kick off today's episode of the show. Once again, my name is Amaka Chibuzo-Obi, and I'll be right back. Welcome back. This is the Wivesroundtable show, and my name is Amaka Chibuzo-Obi. Today on the show, we're going to be discussing managing difficult people. Trust me, I can understand this particular topic, and that's why I'm really very excited that we're talking about it today. So join me as I make welcome my friend Cynthia. Cynthia, welcome to Wivesroundtable.
Thank you very much.
Somehow you've come to learn how to work with difficult people, live with difficult people, just generally manage difficult people. But before we even go into how we can manage them, can you paint us a picture of a difficult person? Who is a difficult person?
Okay, so I'm not sure, there isn't anyone in particular who would say that I'm a difficult person.
Yes.
Yeah, nobody goes about saying that I set out today just to be difficult. What tends to happen, you know how the Bible says two cannot work together except they agree?
Agree, yeah.
That's where the whole problem starts from, conflict.
True.
Conflict starts from the fact that we're not agreed in our life process, our life journey, the way we process information, our objectives in life, what we're pursuing. Wherever and however the conflict comes from, that's the beginning of the difficulty.
Honestly.
So it's not really that someone decides, okay, I'm about to be difficult. Although
maybe some people,
you just
never can tell.
Because I've also had situations where I ask myself, I'm not sure this person has any other thing. There's nothing wrong with this person. This person just wants to be difficult. Yeah, there may be one or two people like that who just set out to say, you know what, I just want to pull this girl's hair out. However, what I have come to realize is our expectations is really where the problem begins.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
People have their own expectations. People have their own makeup. There's the school of thought I'll tell you about, introverts versus extroverts, those who are, creative, those who are very, different people. The differences in people generally is the foundation of all of these issues. So no one really sets out to be difficult.
Okay.
The conflict comes when we don't agree on how we want to
how
achieve.
we see things.
Exactly.
Generally. So
Yes.
I'm seeing something, you're seeing something else, and I'm like, you're difficult. And the person will also say, you too, you're difficult.
Thank you, So that's where all of that drama comes from.
Yeah.
It's now how you choose to approach the situation in front of you. That's what you need to work on.
Okay.
So the real job is not in trying to change the person, it's in actually trying to work with yourself to ensure that however and whichever way they choose to behave, you are able to keep your cool, stay calm, and get your results out.
So please help us. How do we do this? Let's start with the workplace, right? So the people that you hear, they will tell you, my colleagues are so difficult, or my supervisor is so difficult. In fact, if I'm under this supervisor, there's no way I will grow in this organization. They just don't see anything good in anything that I do. the workplace, and we spend most of our time at work.
True.
So for people who have to work with difficult colleagues, by the time they get back home, they are taking all of that frustration home, and the people in the house are getting it hot.
Then they become difficult people.
So they become difficult people to the people at home. So let's start from the workplace, because that's where a lot of us spend the bulk of our time.
Yeah.
How do you walk around a difficult colleague to ensure you don't lose your cool, you don't fight in the workplace?
Very important. Very important.
You don't fight, or you don't just become a shadow of yourself, because that's another thing it can make you become.
So I would say for the workplace, first things first, you're there to work.
Okay.
I think that's one thing that helps me to navigate whatever situation I find myself in at work. I'm here for an objective, I'm here for a purpose, I'm here to do something, I'm here to work. And 99.9% of every other person in that workplace is also here to work. I would say 99.9 because yes, there are moments where everybody just goes crazy. Our permissible 5 minutes madness allowed.
Yes.
Yeah, but half the time, or more than half the time, we all want to work. We all have objectives that we want to meet. Where the difficult or the conflict begins to arise is in how people want their jobs done.
Okay.
So I would say how to manage a boss that you think is difficult, or let me not say you think, how to manage a boss that has been difficult to you.
Okay.
First things first, what exactly does your boss want? Let's work within the confines of what is acceptable in the workplace, within the confines of your set objectives, your KPIs at work. How does your boss like things to be done? Some bosses love due process, Our maths teacher in school would say show working.
Yes.
So some bosses like to see that you show you're working. You follow the process to get the things being done. Some bosses are very finicky about.
Absolutely, they want to micromanage everyone. They want you to tell them what you're doing per time and all of those kinds of things.
Exactly. So if you know that this is the nature of your boss, then you work along that path. It may be difficult for you to say, oh, but that's not who I
am. That's not.
But it's also not his person. Stephen Covey has this chapter of his book, 7 Habits. One of it says, seek first to understand, then to be understood. First, understand your boss, or understand that colleague that is seemingly difficult. Understand what they want. Understand what the results they're looking for. Then seek to actually deliver on that. Now, I work in a system where, you're in the creative world, we, come up with solutions, we present to our stakeholders, they give feedback. Sometimes your professional judgment, because it's a little bit of, it's creative, so it's somewhat subjective.
Yes.
The client's feedback may be, oh no, turn this thing green instead of red. But,
Well, that red is what it's supposed to be.
In such cases, what I would always recommend to people is do 2 options. Do the green and then do the red. Do the green because the person that you're talking to wants to be heard. Everybody wants to be heard.
Okay.
Your boss wants to be heard. Your colleague wants to be heard. The bus conductor who's pulling your hair out for not having correct change wants to be heard.
True.
Your husband wants to be heard. Your mother-in-law wants to be heard. Everyone wants to be heard. You also want to be heard. I mean, sometimes it's like I'm listening to everyone, but
nobody's listening to me.
Thank you. But first, deal with yourself. Calm down. Hear them out. Give them their option.
Okay.
However, have your recommendation handy. So when you're making that presentation, you're saying, okay, your feedback was turn this thing to this,
and this
is what it looks like. By the way, based on my own professional judgment and recommendation and experience, these are the implications of what you have chosen. And these are the things that could go wrong or could go right. And then this is my recommendation on what you should do. Let them make the final call.
Okay.
Then I think another thing, especially in the workplace, is know that some things are above your pay grade.
Abby, just hold that thought. Let's go for a very quick break. When we come back, tell us more about the things that are above our pay grade. And I want you to give me like a practical, real life scenario of you handling a difficult person. And I'm calling a person now because it could be at the workplace, it could be at home, on the street, in a bus, anywhere. Just tell us a practical example of a difficult person you've worked with and how you know, all the steps that you took to manage that person. So we're going to discuss all of this right after this break. Do not go anywhere. You're still on the Wives Roundtable show. Wow, this has been an enlightening conversation. Like, Cynthia has so beautifully explained this whole difficulty situation with people. Honestly, I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning and says, you see, today I'm going to be difficult to everybody I meet. It's just the difference in opinions, difference in perceptions, difference in the way we view the world that brings about all of these difficulties that we encounter in people. But last, like we say, everybody wants to be heard. Everybody wants to be acknowledged. Everybody wants to be appreciated and, you know, affirmed. And that's why some people, you see, it just seems as though they go out of their ways to be difficult. And so Cynthia has told us what we can do in that instance. Hear them. Make them know you have heard them. And then you can now gently yet firmly talk about your own point of view. But let them understand, first of all, that you absolutely heard and understood them. And then she was talking about the things that are above our pay grade. I really want to hear about that, Cynthia. So let's talk about that.
So I was talking about, accepting the fact that certain things are out of your control. In the workplace, I would say things that are above your pay grade. Outside of workplace, I would say things that are outside of your control. Generally. It's learning that it's not everything you can actually change. Having that calm and peace of mind within yourself to say, okay, these are things that are outside of my own influence. No matter what I do, I can't affect this.
Okay.
Having that peace of mind in itself, helps you to deal with the situation. There is the chicken, the egg, the carrot, and the coffee bean analogy that's often talked about,
Yeah.
In every situation you find yourself, are you an egg? Do you become hardened? Are you a carrot? Do you just
become soft?
Or are you coffee? Are you the coffee bean? Put in hot water and you make a beautiful cup of coffee. Yeah, so it's deal with what's happening inside of you. So that's what I was speaking about, accepting that certain things
are just beyond
you, above your pay grade, beyond your control, outside of your influence. And then you asked me about
a real life
situation.
Scenario.
Okay, so I would give two different situations, one at work and then one I would say outside work.
Okay.
At work, we once had a client who had a very mathematical mind.
Okay.
Yeah. So even with non-mathematical situations, he would want things presented to him in that logical sequence because that's just who he is. And a lot of times when other people had gone to make presentations like, oh God, this man has, he asked for this and he asked for that, but this doesn't exist in our field.
In our field.
It's not available here, it's not available there. And half the time, all of the examples and scenarios that this client would give back to team members was very numeric, related. He would talk about the numbers, he'd talk about the bottom line, he'd talk about figures, mostly figures. So it got to me that okay, this guy
has an analytical mind,
very analytical mind. So the day I was to lead a team to go do a presentation to him, I was like, hey guys, there's only one way to get through to this guy, and that is to go with logic, analyze all possible scenarios, and go prepared. And that was what we did. We presented a non-mathematical situation.
Okay.
We turned it into maths. We sat in the same room with him and did all of the possible analogies and scenarios, all the permutations and combinations. He asked all his questions. We answered it. It was perhaps one of the most peaceful
meeting you've had with him, because
and
you
the
came
other
to
team
his
members
level.
Yes, other team members were like, yes, this was a good meeting, because for some reason he wasn't screaming, he wasn't abusive, he wasn't, we were able to communicate
with
properly.
him.
Why? Because
Absolutely.
we understood his language. His language was logic. If it wasn't making sense, if it didn't follow logical sequence, it wasn't working for him. But we were able to put mathematics into what was not
Mathematical.
at all. And we came out of that meeting very
Happy.
good.
Yeah.
Then I would go to outside of the workplace, to family life and the likes. You have people who, and I would say one of the reasons why people can be difficult is their own life experience.
True.
Generally, my pastor would say, hurting people hurt others. If you're going through a challenge, if you've suffered something before, chances are you've bottled a lot of pain and hurt inside of you. Whenever you are faced with something similar,
You come charging.
your first reaction is to defend yourself by attacking. So half the time, the person who is screaming at you or who is making eye, doing you bad eye, or all those funny things, just trying to cage you, it's coming from his own baggage, their own life experience, and all of the things that happened to them. And I've had to deal with family members and friends who've had some difficult situations or difficult challenges, and then were faced with a scenario and people are screaming their lungs out and almost getting into a fist fight.
So how do you keep your cool? Because naturally, I mean, it's fight, flight, or freeze, right? And when somebody is coming at you like that, your first instinct is to defend yourself and match their screaming level. So how do you ensure you don't do that? Because I know that really works.
Well, yeah, so I'm not 100% perfect. There are moments when, yes, even what you know and what you've told yourself 1,000,001 times, you would forget.
Just fly out the window.
And you would react and you probably say things that you shouldn't say. But there are times when, after all of that has happened, you reflect and you realize that, okay, this person is going through issues. I'm also going through issues. And you at that moment of introspection, you think of what has happened and you go back and you sit down and first you apologize, especially if you said hurtful things. So, and then you realize that, that person is going through issues. You're also going through your own issues. It's good to own up.
Okay.
Accept that you may have also said hurtful things. If there's the opportunity to apologize, do so. I try to. I don't always. But I try to. And still the same philosophy of Stephen Covey: seek first to understand, then to be understood. I think it's the bedrock of managing difficult people or difficult situations. First understand what that person is going through. So in such cases with friends or family members, I try to understand their own situation. Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. Because in reality, in life, you only know parts. Yes. And sometimes, people have so bottled up a lot of emotions, they don't even know when some of their past life experiences
is creeping into what they are doing right now.
So it's the more you know that person and you realize how or what that person has gone through in life, you begin to appreciate their behavior. Yeah, so I've had friends who you probably are speaking to them and advising and encouraging, and they're headstrong to say, nope, there's nothing you say, there's nothing you do that's going to change my mind from this path that I've set myself on. And you take a step back and you go through their own life history and follow their life journey, and you realize that, okay, this person's been burnt here, there, and everywhere. Yeah. Hence why there seems to be this fence, huge fence around them with spikes all around. So you go close, you'll be poked and pricked real bad. Yeah. So you understand that person and you now know how to deal with the person. Most of the people, especially if it's family and friend, half the time what they're saying is not coming from a bad place. Some, their knowledge may be faulty, so would say traditional beliefs and practices in comparison with modern day technology, knowledge, and all of that. Yes, so some beliefs may be faulty because of how much and what they know. True. But it's not their fault, it's what they know. And then it's going back to it, acknowledging what they have to say, allowing them to air their opinion. Try patiently to also understand them and see how you can also educate them on what the changes that have happened in life, you know.
True.
Sometimes they would follow suit, sometimes they would not. But it's always key to let them air themselves, and then know that it's not that deep.
It's not that deep, really. It's not that deep. It's not, because at the end of the day, what we want is to move. What we want is to improve, to thrive, to have a good relationship with the people around us. Nobody likes wahala. Nobody likes, kata kata and things like that. So if you taking a step back to try to figure the person out and see how you can now meet the person somewhere, is going to be how you're going to grow and thrive and solve whatever issues you have, then do it. Just do it. And I feel like that's where a lot of us have issues. You'll be like, I'm going to show you that I'm as hot as you are, and then by the time the two heat machines jam, there's an explosion and nothing gets done. So we just need to understand what our motives are, what is our objective, what our objectives are ultimately. What do you want to get from this relationship, really? Do you want to just move? I mean, do you want to move? Or do you want to stay here trying to figure out who is hotter than the other person? Mm-hmm. That's what we need to really ask ourselves and sincerely answer. Because if what you want is to move beyond that particular situation, then you will do what needs to be done to get what you need. So thank you so very much, Cynthia. This has been really enlightening. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. That's a key takeaway for me today on the show, because really at the end of the day, if people knew better, they would do better, so much better. My name is Amaka Chibuzo-Obi, and until I come your way next week, love everyone around you, but most importantly, love yourself, because you can't give what you don't have. Have a very good day, friends. Bye-bye.